Atlanta News First and Peachtree TV presents Celebrating Pride. Sponsored by Ken Nugent Attorneys at Law. One call, that's all.
Whatever you may be, we're all human beings.
I'm super excited about it.
Happy Pride!
Welcome to Atlanta Pride Weekend 2022. I'm Sean Gables.
And I'm Rick Folbaum.
This is a weekend to live, love, and thrive as your authentic self.
And the streets of Midtown Atlanta and Piedmont Park, they are about to be filled with people eager to celebrate after a 2-year hiatus for this event.
The pandemic forced organizers to cancel the parade in 2020 and 2021, which even forced them to celebrate their 50th anniversary virtually. But now, this weekend, we're back and in person.
And what a celebration it will be. Tens of thousands are expected right here in Midtown Atlanta. And we're kicking off this weekend with a look at what it took to get here.
Parade coordinator Jamie Ferguson told me all that goes into organizing this massive parade.
Show me what you do. Happy Pride, Atlanta.
The theme this year, we're back and better.
We are so excited to be back in person.
The Atlanta Pride Committee is Georgia's oldest nonprofit agency serving the LGBTQ community. They say they're ready to kick off a parade to remember.
We are prepared for big crowds. The indications that we have are that the crowds will be at least as big as in 2019. Festival, market, parade registrations are all up from 2019. VIP pass sales are up from 2019. And so we're ready, and we're ready for a big event. And if the weather's great, we expect a huge crowd.
This is a rain or shine event, so the show will go on. And there are some pretty big names scheduled to perform all weekend.
We have a fantastic lineup this year. We're so excited. We have Flo Rida headlining, which is going to be like an hour-long dance party. People of all generations love the music. And we have Big Frida, who we're all so excited about. Betty who's been an icon in the community for years and years. Jax, who's an up-and-coming TikTok star, and it's going to be really fantastic. And then we have everyone down to local performers, Exquisite Gender, Moksha. We have something for everyone. We have Brooke Eden, who's a fantastic country star, who's really good. And so there's a little bit of something for everybody on the entertainment list.
Of course, with every big event, keeping everyone safe is key.
Security is top of mind every single year. We use a multi-layered security plan with volunteers, with private professional security, and then working with law enforcement and state and local agencies to make sure that everything is safe and secure.
The dramatic and colorful floats are always a crowd pleaser. But Jamie says, don't get too close.
I think that the most important things are come prepared to take care of yourself and others. Hydrate, take sunscreen, wear good, comfortable walking shoes. If you see anything dangerous, get some help. On the parade route, we always need people to stay on the sidewalks. One of the biggest challenges we have is that people push up to the barricades and through the barricades, and we need you to stay behind them so that the parade can process down the street. I am expecting organizations a lot more big floats, some really interesting different types of vehicles in the parade, some things you may never have seen. But I'm expecting things to be really joyful this year, bright, and to really celebrate that we have made it through these last few years and that we're really joyful and excited to be back together. And so I think joy is going to be a big theme.
We love you, Atlanta. You are beautiful. A big part of the parade, the Grand Marshals. Each year, a committee chooses several representatives, and this year there are 7.
7. One Grand Marshal, Paul Conroy, the artistic director for Outfront Theater. Here's Don Shipman.
Queen of the Desert. I mean, there's just tons and tons of shows, and we don't keep everything. It's just impossible to.
Just a few short weeks, Outfront Theater Company will raise the curtain on their 6th season.
A lot goes into it, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Founder Paul Conroy started the West Midtown Theater in 2016 with a laser-focused mission aimed at telling the stories of the LGBTQIA+ community.
To me, it seemed really odd, with Atlanta being essentially the capital of the South, that we didn't have a theater dedicated to telling those stories on a consistent basis.
Conroy says people drive more than 2 hours to see their plays, musicals, concerts, and even drag shows. But for nearly 2 years, the pandemic forced them to keep their doors closed.
The theater industry across the country has not bounced back.
But Outfront's newest season could change that. Right now, the cast and crew is in the midst of rehearsal for, can you guess what show it is? That's right, Kinky Boots. Opening night, October 20th. Kinky Boots tells the story of a man who inherited his family's shoe factory and enlisted the help of a drag queen to save the business. Along the way, the two become friends.
It's theater that really talks about something, is wonderful. I think us as a society right now are still longing for comfort and joy and music.
Conroy will represent out front, serving as one of the grand marshals for Atlanta's Pride Parade, back after a 2-year COVID hiatus.
I fully admit when they called me last year that I started to cry.
He says being picked to be a part of the parade reinforced to him that what his theater is doing matters.
It made up for all of the late nights and all of the, the days that we were closed during the pandemic and all the times of how are we going to stretch a buck to make things work.
In West Midtown, Don Shipman, Atlanta News First.
And you can catch Kinky Boots at Outfront Theater October 20th through November 5th.
Sensitivity training is something many members of the LGBTQ community not only recommend, but demand of the city and county leaders. So the city of Atlanta took action. In 2021, city council members approved the ordinance requiring City of Atlanta employees to undergo LGBTQ cultural humility training. The ordinance was introduced by Mayor Bottom's administration. The training will teach employees about the history of the LGBTQ community, definitions of identities, and understanding of various cultural differences.
Having this training where people can understand me and the cultural sensitivities and norms is really important. There is going to be a part around terminology. Certain words that were acceptable 5 or 10 years ago are not acceptable these days, so they'll learn a lot of terminology as well.
The city's Human Resources Department will be responsible for making sure the online training is enforced. Up next, she is the next big thing. I go one-on-one with rapper artist Big Frida.
The Queen is coming to Atlanta Pride, new music out, Break My Soul, we gonna jam.
Plus, politics playing a big part in this year's celebration. We'll have more on the Get Out the Vote campaign when we return. It's been said Atlanta influences everything, right? And as the nation watches pivotal races during the November election here in Georgia, the LGBTQ plus community is making sure their voices are heard.
Atlanta News First anchor Tracy Hutchins shows us how there's a huge push to get out the vote.
Now is the time for us to stand up for marriage equality.
Harnessing the power at the polls. For Metro Atlanta's LGBTQ plus community, it is more important now than ever.
Here locally in Georgia, we're seeing bills introduced against trans athletes and trans youth.
Forcing girls to play against biological boys inhibits the ability of young girls in the state of Georgia to win competitions.
We have elected officials who have come out and said that they don't support marriage equality.
Brian Kemp will not hesitate to roll back the progress we've made to ensure equal protection for all Georgians.
During Pride events this year, which come less than a month before midterm elections, organizers are partnering with various groups, including Georgia Equality and Galeo, which works within the Latinx community.
Some of the things that are on the ballot are difficult to comprehend. Sometimes people don't understand what certain commissioners do. And so being able to educate our community members in regards to those things really helps them make informed decisions.
That help isn't just about what's on the ballot, but how to vote, where to vote, and making sure they are registered before Election Day.
There is intersection between Latino, Latinx people and the LGBTQ community. So we want to make sure that all of our community members feel heard and feel like their voice is important and that they can engage civically.
We want to provide as many tools as possible to make voting easy for people. I think it's hard for people in our community to feel confident when you feel targeted by elected officials, which is why it's important for us to take our voice to the ballot box and make sure that we show up in large numbers and that we vote.
Tracy Hutchins, Atlanta News First.
As tens of thousands of people pour into Atlanta to celebrate Pride, the same was true about a month ago for Atlanta Black Pride.
And as Atlanta News First Zach Summers shows us, the celebration is more alike than it is different.
It's important to remind people of who they are.
Oliver Allen is a firm believer you either live your truth or risk dying in your lie.
Even saying that, you have to have a space to be able to express your truth, to talk about your truth.
For more than 25 years, one of those spaces has been Atlanta Black Pride Weekend.
Black gay folk here in Atlanta would do barbecues and kind of gather together, and long before, there were promoters and parties, it was house parties, and people would just have a great time. It was community.
What started as a casual get-together has grown into a days-long annual event with a slew of entertainment, festivals, and dance parties.
Self-esteem, self-love. When you have communities that have experienced being ostracized and oppressed, it is absolutely amazing when those groups decide, you know what, we're going to celebrate ourselves.
When asked what's the difference between Atlanta Black Pride and Atlanta Pride, Allen said there are more similarities than differences.
The beautiful thing about a lot of the events that take place during Black Pride, especially nowadays, is you see a little bit of everybody. To me, that's what this is about. It is about humanity.
Zach Summers, Atlanta News First.
The pandemic was not all bad news for small business owners here in Georgia. Some LGBTQ+ businesses say the community rallied behind them and kept them afloat. Lana Harris tells their story.
Another day at Fire Pit Pizza Tavern.
Ladies, y'all enjoying everything?
Is another day Leslie Cohen says she has to be grateful.
All right, let's have some fun. In it for Pride Month. 1, 2, 3, Pride Month!
For 4.5 years, she says her LGBTQ-owned business has strived to be inclusive.
I wanted to make sure that anybody could come here and feel, that it's a safe place. Do you need a cold mug?
Nope. It was important to her, knowing that's not the experience everyone in the LGBTQ community has.
Yes, I've heard throughout, the United States that there's different areas that, they've didn't feel comfortable to go inside.
Cohen says it is still a problem in 2022.
Oh, absolutely, it's still a problem.
Cohen says it can be hard to understand for those who've never experienced discrimination.
I've heard of places where they go and people feel uncomfortable because they're with their partner, and even if it's a first date, it's already nerve-wracking. So, and going to a place where you feel discriminated against can make it, harder.
When the pandemic hit, she poured her attention into takeout and delivery services to ensure her doors could remain open.
And we were able to grasp a wide audience, and I think a wider audience than we normally would.
Cohen says they quickly became known for their brick oven pizza and famous unicorn wings, making sure to cater to those who don't eat meat, too.
We've got a gluten-free menu, we've got a vegan menu, vegetarian. We want this place to be a place where anybody can come. So good? Perfect.
Lana Harris.
Pizza for you.
It's Atlanta News First.
Among the grand marshals for the parade is Dr. Valeria Cantos. She's an infectious disease specialist at Emory Medicine, where she fights to treat and prevent the spread of HIV, especially in Georgia's Black and brown communities. New studies show HIV diagnosis in Georgia dropped for every race except among Hispanic men. Atlanta News First Patrick Quinn has more on her life-saving work.
Whether in a white coat or scrubs, administering shots or advocating on the street, Dr. Valeria Cantos is committed to her work, studying and stopping infectious diseases from spreading across the state.
It's the perfect combination of public health, community involvement, advocacy, and good science.
Combating COVID has taken up much of her time in the last few years, but her true focus is HIV care and prevention, especially within Black and Latino communities. This last group is proving especially important. For new data from the Georgia Department of Public Health, between 2010 and 2019, HIV diagnoses in Georgia dropped for every race and ethnicity for men and women except for for Hispanic Latino men, where HIV grew by 13%. But why?
Because of intersectional stigma, because of poverty, because of prioritization of employment and the instability and the lack of protection that the workplace offers.
Dr. Canto said these factors make it hard for Latino men in the LGBTQ community to navigate the ins and outs of HIV care, like getting their hands on prevention and treatment medication like PrEP. She said these barriers are social and structural, but can be solved. Dr. Cantos is fighting for these fixes through academia, as well as direct care to those living with HIV in clinics and hospitals, and speaking up about the inequities. Now she's getting recognized for her work, named as a Grand Marshal for Atlanta Pride.
That I was honored and selected to be a Grand Marshal by the community makes it even more impactful.
Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
Personally, when we get to walk through the parade, me and my family and as many people as we can get in our 225-person law firm, which has got offices all over the state, it's a great time. And I was amazed the last time we were there how many people were out there and cheering and excited. It was really an excellent, excellent event. So I'm very happy to be a proud sponsor of it. I've seen such a progression of thought coming into the city. I've seen so much growth and so much diversity and so much acceptance of other people in this city, which sadly wasn't there when I first came. It really is an important thing for Atlanta to keep moving forward in this regard, to be inclusive of everyone.
Atlanta Pride, it's always a celebration, but one celebratory night back in 2009 put police and members of the LGBT community at odds.
The fallout from the raid at the Atlanta Eagle nightclub has been settled, and the new owners told our Zach Summers it's time to start anew.
No pun intended, but I'm over the moon. I am so excited to be able to bring back the Atlanta Eagle.
When we met up with Richard Ramey nearly a month ago, renovations at the new location for the Atlanta Eagle had barely began.
We're not just closing the door, taking the moon down, and hanging an eagle.
Formerly located at 306 Ponce, the well-known gay bar is being revived at what was once Midtown Moon in the Ainsley Square Shopping Center.
It's a place that you can come and be yourself, and it's a safe place for all.
Ramey made the difficult decision to close Atlanta Eagle in 2021 after 33 years. The shuttered bar, like many businesses, a casualty of the pandemic.
Part of the nightclub is for people to socialize and be together, and I couldn't figure a way to run that business.
The historic building on Ponce was once home to the Celebrity Club, where famed drag queen RuPaul got his start. In 2009, community uproar after Atlanta police raided the Eagle based on allegations of illegal drug and sex activity happening inside.
Those customers, what they went through that night, and my staff being handcuffed and locked up for not having a proper permit. And they were in jail for almost 48 hours because there wasn't a bond set because they had never locked anyone up for that. I mean, the judge didn't even have a bond. He didn't know what to set the bond because it was sort of, they kind of just made something up.
The raid led to a federal lawsuit. The city paid more than $1 million to settle. There was also police reform aimed at bettering relationships between law enforcement and the gay community.
This became part of gay history here in Atlanta, and it's important to know that what those customers and we did as a community to stand up and try to make a difference.
Now, as the Atlanta Eagle starts a new chapter,
I took our team over to see the Atlanta Eagle. I want it to have the feel.
In Midtown, Zach Summers, Atlanta News First.
She is known as the Queen of Bounce, and boy, is her light on fire right now. Rapper Big Freedia is taking the music industry by storm, one diva at a time.
What should we expect during your performance at Atlanta Pride?
Lots of bouncing, you know, lots of booties moving everywhere.
You know, for someone who doesn't know what bounce is, define it for me.
Bounce is a New Orleans-based music. When I define bounce music, it's up-tempo, it's heavy bass, it's call and response, where if I call out something, you respond to it. And it has a lot to do with moving of the body parts.
She different, yes, she different.
Big Frida has become a household name, selling out shows around the world. She's performed with some of the biggest names in the music industry.
You gotta do your homework. Beyonce, Drake, Kesha, Lady Gaga. I'm on a lot of people's stuff.
Big Frida's music is fun, flirty, and sometimes a bit risque.
She did that, she did that.
But that's not where she got her start. Frida began singing in church.
I started in gospel music so that, you know, I didn't know that I will be in this world at all.
My music, it makes me feel good about what I do and the culture that I represent. People get confused by if I am he or she. I am more than just Big Frida.
Big Frida prides herself on being a nurturer, especially to young people. She says her goal is to inspire by being transparent about her journey.
I will hope that they will take away from my story that, you know, living in your truth and being yourself, and no matter who you are, if you trust and believe in yourself, and if you work hard and be consistent, that anything is possible and anything can happen.
Thank you so much for joining us for Pride on Peach 2022.
We hope you've had as much fun as we have and also learned something too. Remember, enjoy this weekend and stay safe.
And remember, Pride is all about being the best you can be.